So one of these days... No.
How synchronized.
I know. One of these days, I'm going to mix up my water and my hand sanitizer, and it's going to be funny.
You know what's...
It will be, but...
No, I mean, Noosh, look at the bottles of the things you're talking about. There's like...
I'm just waiting for
water.
you to take my sanitizer.
And hand sanitizer. How are you going to like, I'm thirsty.
Squirt it into your mouth?
He's going to, I'm thirsty. You know what I did actually one time when I was really drunk? Like, not in high school. Okay. But in high school.
Right.
I had like a toothpaste dispenser that was kind of like a soap thing and a soap thing. They were like similar. They were tubey things. And I spent what felt like an eternity. It was probably like 5 minutes, just like holding both of them, not really sure which one I was supposed to use for toothpaste. And I was just like, oh man. I chose right, I think. I mean, I don't really remember.
Well,
I don't remember the taste of soap, so I'm assuming it was...
Well, there you go. That's a good way to judge it.
As long as you didn't remember the taste, I'm sure that's cool.
Yeah, even if it was soap, I mean...
Yeah.
You're still here, so that's what counts,
Your
I
mouth was
guess.
still clean?
Barely.
Yeah.
Soapy.
Have you ever had your mouth washed out with soap as a kid?
Have you?
I did once. My mom did.
She actually did
what
that.
Did you
wow.
do?
Yeah, what'd you do? Yeah.
Said like a bad word or something. I don't know.
I never got my mouth washed with soap, but my mom did cross the house one time because I called my brother a mofo, and I didn't know I didn't know what that meant at the time. We were just like hanging out somewhere, and I was like, "Shut up, mofo."
Mofo.
And I didn't know what that meant. I had just heard it, and my mom like walks out of the kitchen, walks all the way around the house, comes in there, and just like comes up to me, and she's like, "Don't you ever call your brother that again." And I was like, I hope she doesn't watch this video because she's going to deny it.
Deny.
Yeah, but
Well, she's probably going to watch the video and she's going to listen because, she's our biggest fan now. That's true. My mother will never hear what we do here.
You won't let her.
I won't let her, but I'm glad that your mom, at least one of our moms.
I think my mom does.
also.
Yeah, see, our moms know our shame. Yeah. But, your mom's... I don't want your mom to know my shame either.
Yeah.
She has a really high opinion of me.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
So,
higher than you sometimes. Because she talks to me and she's like, oh, what's his problem? I don't understand him. And I'm like, I don't know either. He's a weird kid.
It's true. They have moments where they both realize, like, my son, my best friend, he's a really weird person. Like, he's got a lot of mental issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry if I'm a little depressed.
Elaborate.
Okay, so last week, continuing the story from last week, I got in an accident last week. Talked to my insurance, talked to her insurance. Are you drawing a steering wheel for me?
I was going to try to draw a car wreck, but my drawing skills are not very good.
A
car wreck with your...
I was going to try to draw it, but
Yeah. Also, I'm really trying to make a point of not doing this right now because I noticed in like all of our videos I'm like messing with the cord. Okay, so I talked to the insurance.
What should you do with your hands?
Stop.
Hold on to the mic. That way, it's a very it's a very eager mic.
Yeah, it is. This thing keeps trying to hit me in the face.
No, it's trying to get in your mouth. That's what it's trying to do.
Thanks. Yeah, so talked to the insurance. This lady was like denying. Why do I keep doing this? This lady was denying liability.
The Trump quotes, yeah.
So it turned into this whole thing, and it took forever. But now they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to pay for it. It's her fault. Right, great.
There you go. Justice.
I shouted justice when I heard
you did.
that.
You did. The only, I think the other time in my life I've ever felt justice more was when I was driving north on the 405, 3 a.m. I think it was home from your house. And, it's like super dark. There's no one around on the freeway. And then there's like one guy, and he's like, just drives up and cuts me off, like so close. And he goes, and I'm just like, I literally do this. What the fuck? And then a motorcycle cop pulls up right next to me and goes, and then pulled the guy over.
No way.
And I was like,
dude, that's incredible.
Yeah. It's like my favorite cop story.
Dude.
Sometimes they're cool.
Finally, there's one when you need one.
Yeah.
I looked around like, who's gonna, like, administer some justice for me?
Dude, I feel like if you got a picture of that guy, we can make like a cool cop meme.
Yeah,
like,
he was a real life meme for sure.
Officer Justice.
I called him Captain Falcon.
Captain Falcon?
Because he did this thing. So anyway, continuing on with my accident thing, My truck's been like driving okay, so I'm like, oh well, whatever. Finally, I'm gonna get it fixed. Sweet, I'm excited. Then as I'm driving it down here today, it starts like making this rattling sound, and it smells like it's on fire. And I got a check engine light now, and I don't know if I'm gonna make it home. I'm terrified, a little bit. Terrified's not the word, but it's. So if I'm a little depressed, that's why, because I'm probably gonna die later tonight. R.I.P.
We were talking all about us doing like our best British accent. And by the way, I mean, I think we joked around about this on other episodes, but whenever I do my best British accent, it is an Indian accent. It is. I mean, for somebody like me, the best British is going to be.
It's okay, man.
Yeah.
It becomes
Actually,
more.
you break the mold, Courtney.
I break the mold?
Well, because you're South Asian also, but you don't. You can do a British accent. You can.
Not really.
I was going to say
my Indian accent has gotten better as I've gotten older.
It comes more naturally to white people. It's in our blood somewhere.
Well, so here's the British quote, but it's going to sound Indian. That is what I thought of when you were talking about your car making like a death rattle, like dying on the way here. Yeah. I just imagined like, hold on, I have to look at this. Hold on, it's oh no, this is battery fluid. Number Johnny 5 is bleeding.
That was really not British.
I know.
Not British. And you probably chose the most racist Indian.
Yeah, that was
the one where
bad.
The one movie where the white guy's playing the Indian guy.
True. Mr. Stevens. But that is what my British accent sounds like. So that was. I'm listen. There's literally no such thing as me doing that because that's the best I've got. That is. I am the. Listen, it's like Aziz being told to do the voice. He does the voice. Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything that's not depressing or about my life that we can talk about? Both of these intros, the last episode and this one, have been like, Ryan, your life is...
Well, you went through an accident. We're trying to give you support.
By laughing at me. And
yes.
If it makes you feel better, I was almost in a car accident where I died the other day.
You were in a car accident and you almost died, or you were almost in a car accident?
About both. We were probably almost in a car accident and we would have almost died.
That's not good.
That doesn't make me feel better at all.
This is why, Miles, maybe by being on this show, you can work on your comedy, because then you can differentiate between what's like, Miles, that's not funny. I'm not laughing at your near-death experience.
Hey, but comedy and tragedy equals time is what Woody Allen said one time.
That's true.
But no, this car had pulled out in front of us, and I was in a car with my cousins. And the kind of funny thing that happened before that is we were leaving a house, and we had told the guy whose house we were like, oh, I hope nothing bad happens to us on the way out. Of course, we're leaving. This car pulls out of a driveway, jumps into the lane, and then drifts into our lane. And if you ever meet my cousin literally loves his car more than he probably loves people. And he will not let anything happen to his car. So he decided to drive into the opposing traffic to avoid this guy.
He's like, no, we're all going out.
It's literally like an action movie, because I thought
if his car's going down, he has to go down.
I thought we were in the Fast and the Furious, and I thought we were about to like jump a car, or he thought he was Vin Diesel and we were going to crash and all live. And he just pulls into the opposing traffic, and we're just like, all the way to the end of the opposing traffic, and then we're like, oh my god, we're still alive.
He was.
Why was that the best? Yeah, we were like, why is that the best idea?
That's insane.
All right, guys. Well, let's start this thing, and
you start this thing because you got a long, nooshy story to tell.
Yes, I do.
Let's go crazy!
Welcome to another episode of Welcome to the After Party. I'm your host, Danushka Kumar Singh.
Weak.
I
I'm just kidding.
literally read your Taco Bell
I I was gonna. You did it too fast. I wanted to be like, show me what you got. And then I could have followed up with that by saying,
Do you like
Boo.
what I got? Do you like what I got?
disqualified.
And I just said I just introduced myself, and that's the part where
You didn't know. Did you?
I
Yeah,
did.
you
I just
did.
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, well, I'm
Dropping the
not
ball.
paying attention, dropping the ball, Ryan Walters.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Miles.
Great. And
Why
Courtney,
am I always saying my last name? It's because you do.
yeah, well, you
Yeah, he
should.
does.
I do.
We're the same person. I gotta
Yeah.
be somebody else.
Should I be saying my last name?
Well, I feel like it adds an air of like professionalism
We
or
should.
something.
You
want
want to
Say
make
our
this
last
show
name?
professional, Noosh?
I don't know.
Is it way past that?
We were
Do
just
still have
discussing
time?
before you came in here how Courtney's always talking about pubes or like
Apparently
penises.
she's the pube girl is what
I do not
Wait,
want that
yeah.
as a nickname.
Hold on, hold on. Miles, have you heard the show since Courtney's been on?
No, I haven't had a
Okay,
chance.
because you were literally right before like Courtney. I think like an episode or two before Courtney
Yeah.
became like regular host.
Really?
So yeah.
And that's what you brought to the table.
Writing letters in menstrual blood.
Yeah.
That was a thing she talked about.
Yes. Actually, there's kind of a recurring theme with Courtney. I noticed. It began with
That was the
restroom etiquette, and it ended with period.
that was the
blood.
argument Ryan was making
Well,
before.
it
the
ended with
rest-
penis
Oh, yeah,
museums.
Penis museum.
penis museums.
Well, so what's your thing for today? What's
Oh, okay. So
What's your version of my thing today?
My
Yeah.
version of your thing is
We need a name for this thing, by the
Yeah.
way, so we can refer to it.
Yeah, that way we can stop calling it my
Begrudgingly.
the
thing.
thing.
The thing.
Okay, so if this were Friends,
Okay,
Oh.
good choice.
you, Noosh, would be Joey.
I'm Joey.
I think you're
Yeah,
Joey.
That kind of makes sense.
You're Joey.
Listen, I always want to be Chandler, but I am Joey on this
Yeah.
show.
Please tell me I'm Chandler because he wants to be Chandler.
Well, I was going back and forth between.
You're Ross.
I was thinking between Ross and Chandler, but
Yeah.
I settled on Chandler.
Chandler?
I think
Yes!
Chandler.
Hey,
Eat it!
Ross is
Eat it,
cooler.
Joey.
Ross is cooler though.
Ross is cooler.
Ross and no, actually, I'm lying. Chandler is literally the definition of cool.
Yeah, man.
Everybody who watched that show wants to be Chandler.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
Chandler's pretty awesome.
But as an
Aw,
adult,
thanks.
as an adult, I've come to really appreciate Ross like a lot. Like Ross
Yeah.
is
yeah, I mean, no,
amazing.
he's got his. He's
Yeah.
got his.
He has
thing.
his moments, but Ross and Phoebe have always kind of been my least favorite of the
Dude,
characters.
actually, Rachel's my least favorite.
Really?
Only because Rachel is presented as the access character. She is the normal one in the group. Everybody else has got like something weird going on, but
well, but
she
she's
is-
not.
You should probably let her say who she is before you start talking
who
shit
I
about people.
I was gonna say Rachel.
Damn, I knew it. I knew it.
Great setup, Mitch.
You're like, she's like
Listen,
boring
she-
and access character.
I
She's
hate
got
her.
no
She
personality.
smells
She's too
funny.
She's too vanilla.
yeah, I think she's a lesbian. I don't know.
She keep breathing.
You did think that about them.
So yeah,
We were on a break.
yeah. So that's that. So I guess since you're our guest,
Oh.
here we
and
go.
you are
Noosh
here
said
though,
he would.
you could be Gunther for today.
Gunther.
Actually, dude, that's crazy. He would be a real he would be Gunther. I think. Yeah,
That would be Gunther.
yeah, kind of, because you kind of bring that tone, that presence. You know, I don't know. That's the vibe I get. I mean, if I had to think of anybody else, you'd be. Yeah, I'd be Gunther.
Gunther.
Gunther?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I haven't watched much Friends, so I'm not even sure.
Oh, you should. But
all the kids are discovering it.
I know
now.
I know all the
did I
kids
tell you
are
that?
It's the new
discovering it.
thing.
Kaylee, when she's here, she is obsessed with that show.
Did
She
she- Your little
cousin?
loves it.
Did she ask you though,
Aw.
like, oh hey, auntie? Did she call you auntie?
No.
What did she call you?
Courtney.
Auntie.
Aunt Courtney.
Rude,
Courtney?
disrespectful.
No, 'cause I prefer it that way.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't want to be like Aunt
I
Courtney?
have-
No.
Aunt Courtney, Auntie Courtney.
And I never called any of my aunts or uncles that too. My mom, before we were even born, she asked all of the people that would be involved, like, do you want them to call you aunt or uncle? And they said no, so we didn't grow up calling them that.
I have.
So your uncle comes over and you're just like, "Sup, Joey," or whatever
Yeah.
your name is. Oh.
I have aunts who are like 2, 3 years, 4 years younger than me, and I still refer to them as Nanda, which means like elder aunt, like revered aunt in Sinhala. I still call them that to their like chagrin, you know, like
Yeah.
because it makes them sound really old.
You know, last year I found out that I became and not only an aunt, but a great aunt as well.
Wow.
It found my long lost half brother.
Oh, nice.
And so he has 3 daughters, and one of his daughters has 2 sons. So, yeah.
Huh.
We're having some weird
I know. What
sounds.
does that sound?
What's
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
There we go.
This is a small thing, but yeah. Anyway, so...
It irritated your sensibilities.
well, I mean, you know what? Normally, I always say I don't call attention to anything that happens peripherally, but it was, metal on, like, hard surface metal plastic is, like, really... It hits you right in the pain center of the brain.
Right
in the pain
through
center?
your headphones in the pain center of
Right
your
into
brain.
the amygdala. That would be
Is
where
that- is that really
the amygdala would be.
You know what? She could just say anything. She's got
I
all the
know.
degrees. I would
Well, I
believe
did
it.
take psychology, and you do learn the parts of the brain, and the
Ah.
amygdala is the it's close to the center. It's in your brain stem, which is the most primitive part of the brain, and that's where you have fear, I think pain, and some other
the old
feelings as well.
brain.
Yeah, the old
part
brain.
So,
brain
guys,
is
that
the
was the
old
show.
brain.
We've all learned something about ourselves. And welcome to the after party.
Well, no, before we start, because our topic for today is British. It's whatever's British.
Well, it's Britain.
No,
right?
I'm saying British only because it could be outside of Britain. It could be anything, just British.
Is
Could be
yours
part of the
outside of
countries
Britain?
that
Is
they
that
took
what you're
over.
No, mine's like in the heart of Britain. It's
Okay.
like
Yours
it's
is
like
in the
it's,
heart
it's
of
as
Britain?
British as it gets. But I have a before I tell my story though. First, what's your British voice? You heard my British voice. My British voice is Fisher Stevens, circa 1980s.
I mean, I gotta have a thing to say. I can't just.
Oh, well, at some point during this show, you guys all have to say something in a British accent, whatever it is you're gonna say.
Cool, man. It's not. You know, my mom's boyfriend is British.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like if she listens to this, I'm gonna be offensive. Not because of what I'm gonna talk about, but if
Huh.
I make an accent. Actually, when he's around, because we saw him when we went to like Utah for family stuff. Whenever he was talking, I like really almost did the accent just because I was
Just
around it and I
because?
wanted to
Yeah.
just. But I was like, no, Ryan, that's
You know who
offensive. I
would
can't.
inadvertently do the accent in front of your mom's boyfriend? Justin. Justin always kind of just randomly does.
Well, no, we
accents.
do that to each other all the time.
Yeah.
Like when we're on Xbox and stuff.
Yeah.
Like sometimes even when like I'm just drunk playing Xbox, I'll just the whole game I'll do in like an accent. I've done that
Nice.
before.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah,
think I'm
nice.
just someone from somewhere else.
Huh.
Which is really it's really only a joke for me. It doesn't matter to anyone else, but
I
you know.
do it to my dad's girlfriend who's Italian. In fact, I like to take it one step and make like mob jokes to her because she's super Italian.
Nice.
So I'll be like, "Oh, so do you got a little Vito who's gonna come in and whack me?"
Okay, well, but before I start, I want to share with you guys one anecdote I learned. This is not a part of my story, but this is an anecdote I learned about the British that I thought was so hysterical. We're all familiar with the War of 1812, right? For anybody who's not, the War of 1812 was the second War of Independence, basically, right? When
Yeah.
the British and the French were at war with each other. The U.S. was kind of doing some, like, they were selling both sides. And the British really didn't appreciate that, and the Americans were outraged that they were not allowed to sell to both sides. So the British came, and they, invaded, and they burned down the White House. That's, like, the big thing
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
But one of the things I thought was hilarious is the Americans, right? The president, I believe it was Madison, he was so convinced that they were going to win this thing that, his wife, Dolly, set the table for, like, a fancy dinner, a banquet, and they were going to, like, celebrate the victory. But all of a sudden, the British forces landed in Maryland, and they're like, oh, shit. They're going to reach Washington, D.C., and so they fled, right? They just took whatever was valuable, and they fled. So the British came into Washington, D.C., they took over the White House. They discovered this banquet dinner. So they actually
Sat down
went.
and ate?
No, they went to the president's bedroom. They got his fanciest clothes, and then they had this fancy dinner, right? And then
They
immediately,
all wore his
They
clothes.
all wore
Yes.
the president's clothes.
and then immediately afterward, they went to the Congress building. They held a mock session of Congress where they all vote. Oh God, I wish I had.
They
the
all
quote.
voted to burn down the White House.
Yes,
Is
dude.
that what
They
happened?
had this thing, like they had this whole like the eyes have it, like they all said "I"
Nice.
about burning down
Hear,
the
hear.
White House, and then they proceeded to burn down the White
That's
House.
actually pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is very British.
Wow, that was
Also.
savage.
That- yeah.
That was pretty savage of the British.
They're still gonna have, they still have their manners. They have to, do things accordingly. So,
I just thought it was just hilarious. They held that mock session. Okay, so my story is called the South Sea Bubble. This is a story that's great for two reasons, but also bad for one particular reason. It's great because, one, it has the potential to be as hilarious and outrageous and insane as that Edison Chen story that I told back in December, which to me, that's like the best story I ever told on this show. Like, that was my favorite story. This story has the potential to be that good.
Just to remind our listeners, all 5 of them, what was the Chen story?
Actually, it's a lot more than 5 if you have
Yeah.
anything
I know.
on our stats
I was
to go
joking.
off of.
But,
There's so much pressure.
Well,
I don't know
I'm
what
not going
to
into
do.
details. Go
All
back
right,
and
10.
listen to
10
episode
listeners.
11, Idols, which was in December. But it's about the nude photo scandal that hit Hong Kong and the nude photo uploader that
story had
terrorized
everything.
that terrorized the nation named Kira. The Hong Kong police were after him. It's a great story. You should go listen to that. But anyway, this story has that potential. It has another thing. It ties into earlier stories we've told because this is like the precursor to the whole opium war story. Like this is during the time when like the British had their whole tea crisis going on in the 1700s. So this is like fits into previous stories we've told. But it has one
That you've told.
that I've told. Well, we as a group, as a
I know, I'm just.
you know, are you going back to your old ways where you're just breaking my balls every single time?
Yeah, man. I got a misery loves company.
Yeah.
You know, you
You
gotta
are.
That's his shtick.
Yeah.
come down to my level.
Okay, so there's one thing holding this story back, and that's why I hope, you know, we can make it as funny as possible. The one thing holding the story back is it's heavily about finance and the stock market.
God.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So this takes place in Britain in the 1700s.
I feel like we should dim the lights and bring
Yeah.
up the flashlights.
So the British, remember the whole tea crisis story? I don't want to go into the details, but basically I'll recap this much.
Shot.
The British government had a lot of debt due to this whole tea crisis that was going on from the 1700s all the way till the end of the 1800s, right?
100 years.
200 years, basically.
200
years of tea crisis.
The 200-year
Yeah.
tea crisis.
10%, here's some of the figures. 10% of all British government's revenue came from taxing tea imports. I mean, that's a huge chunk of their money was from taxing tea coming into the country. And the thing is, they loaned a lot of money to the East India Trading Company to import tea in from China and India. Why? Because those tea imports are bringing them a lot of their government money. Which, as a result, forces the East India Trading Company to import a lot of tea because they have a lot of loans to pay back to the British government. It was this really, really, like, terrible economic circle jerk, basically, that the British government and the East Indian Trading Company were experiencing, right? They both needed each other, and it just kind of escalated. So it was a really bad economic situation for Britain at that time. Additionally, something else that was going on, during the entirety of the 1700s, the British government was in a constant state of war with literally everybody.
That sounds
British?
pretty, yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
British.
Pretty British.
Spain, France, Russia,
Old
Rome,
Yeah.
Rome, Sweden, Prussia, the Ottoman Empire, the Dutch, the Sri Lankans, and even themselves. They had a civil war in the middle of this whole thing.
Pretty much they just see someone outside and they're like, we're going to war.
Going to war? Yeah.
Like, they were just fighting everybody. So it was just 100 years of war, basically. So I want to point out 3 principal players in this story that I want you to follow, okay? Good thing is they kind of come in at different intervals, so it's you'll follow it easily. 1, Robert Harley, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, which is basically the Secretary of Treasury in the British government, okay? The Chancellor of the Exchequer, Robert Harley. The other person is John Blunt, an unethical businessman from the Hollow Sword Blades Company.
Wow, there's a company name.
Also, there is an
That's
irony.
like the Xbox tag of companies.
The Hollow Sword
Hollow
Blades
Swords Company.
Well, also his name is John Blunt. And
Yeah.
he's from
Yeah.
he's from a Blades company.
The Hollow Swords Blades Company.
The next person is Sir Robert Walpole, a member of the British Parliament with scores to settle. That's all you gotta know about this guy.
That's all it says?
That's all you need to know at this point. So here, those are 3 principal players in this, wild, crazy story. Okay, here we go. So Britain's buckle up for a ride.
Yeah.
So by the way, this is a great story because it's another one of those types of stories that just gets proceedingly more insane as it goes along. So Britain's debt. In August of 1710, Robert Harley is the new Treasury, a person, right, Secretary
Right.
of Treasury, and he looks at Britain's finances, which is something that nobody really did for like years, like decades. Like they were just fighting. They weren't really thinking about the money situation. And what he found on the ledger is this: Britain only had £5,000 in the Bank of England, and they had roughly £9 million of debt, which back then $9 million was like an enormous
Like $1
amount.
billion.
That is like that's like an enormous amount of money. By the way, just so you know how much that £9 million debt was, in 2015, Britain made its first payment to that debt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how.
They're finally like, all right,
Like
I'm gonna start paying this
300
off.
years later. Yeah.
I guess it's time.
So
When I get those collars off my back.
How much? How much was their payment?
I didn't check that.
Oh.
It just said I don't know.
The minimum.
Probably the minimum. The British government at that time, they were just taking loans and spending money. No one in the government was actually tracking the debt. Debt was tracked by individual departments, but nobody really consolidated the debt to say, oh, this is how much we actually owe in total. And so everybody's thinking, oh, I owe like $100, or like I owe, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's an exaggeration. But I'm saying they all thought they owed very little because nobody compiled
Right.
it all together.
Yeah.
The government. But what Harley found was the government might not make it through the year. Like, he looked at the ledger and he's like, we don't have enough money to make it through the year. And unfortunately, I don't have time to go into the details of why. By the way, I'm going to skim a lot of things in this story because of how long the story is. I mean, this is almost like a 20-year story I'm telling. So it's huge. But basically, I don't have time to go into the details, but it was not possible to increase taxes to raise money, and it's also not possible to take any loans from the Bank of England due to some political infighting within Parliament. So it's not possible to tax or take a loan. Additionally, international investment was not possible because Britain was at war with everybody.
Yeah.
There's nobody to loan money.
Hey, I know we're trying to kill all you guys, but can we borrow some money?
So
Just a tenner?
Come on. Just a tenner.
So this is where John Blunt comes in. Harley asked Blunt for help. Remember, Blunt is a successful businessman from the Hollow Swords Blade Company.
Yeah.
So for Blunt, this financial crisis was a chance to make some money. So he came up with a series, and I emphasize series, of plans to make some money.
Is this guy the Dean Botten of old Britain? Just all these get-rich-quick schemes?
I would say this: the Dean Botten, if
Get-rich-quick
Dean Botten was like
schemes.
insanely effective at what he did.
So, okay.
Like
So
a
not
really,
Dean, then.
like a really good Dean Botten.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but his plans were just as crazy as Dean Botten's.
But
Dean
they
Botten is a
worked.
friend of ours who decided to hotwire his truck to be a hybrid.
What?
He's a guy who tried to build.
He tried to make his truck a hybrid. He also tried
to
he
build
also
a hover machine, a hover.
he did do
hovercraft.
that. He was
Yeah.
going to try to sell bird cages.
Yeah.
He
Bird cage.
wanted to get a scooter
Yeah.
to keep in
His
his truck to drive short
Yeah.
distances
Yeah.
so he wouldn't have to drive his truck
Yeah.
to save gas. He had a lot of... Oh, and he also would dig
Oh yes, this.
lottery tickets out of the trash at gas stations and liquor stores.
Second chance
because
option.
there's a
Second
second chance
chance,
online
yeah.
option.
Yeah, he even got it. Oh, hey, by the way, he didn't.
Oh, and he would grab everyone's trash and recycle it.
Also, he didn't want to spend money. He's trying to be a firefighter, so he didn't want to spend money on buying like weight packs. So he would just carry his girlfriend on his back as he went for jogs.
Yeah,
So
that's how he trained.
basically John Blunt is like a really, really effective Dean Botten. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this plan by plan. Plan 1, buying debt. So Blunt secretly, with the authority of the British government, secretly purchased army debt from the British military. He purchased debt from the British military, okay? By the way, this debt is completely worthless because the army has no money to pay anybody back. So, yeah, people are buying debt, but they're not going to get paid back for the debt they bought, right?
Yeah.
They're loaning money
Yeah.
for nothing.
Yeah.
So he then announces that his company, the Hollow Sword Blades Company, will exchange shares in their company for army debt. So they're going to buy people's worthless army debt. This caused the value of army debt to skyrocket. All of a sudden, army debt was worth a lot of money because this company is willing to trade
yeah, right.
for shares,
True.
which made all the army debt that Blunt bought worth a lot of money. He then took all of the army debt that he purchased and he traded it for land the British Army stole from Ireland. So just keep track of what he just did. He just traded the army's debt back to the army to purchase land the army stole from the Irish. That's John Blunt in a nutshell. If you
Okay,
ever
so
want to know who he is.
He's
Wow.
trading nothing
Trading nothing.
back to people he
Yeah.
got the nothing from
Yes.
to get land from them
Yeah.
that they stole from someone else.
The profits from the deal were loaned to the British government, and this deal was absolutely illegal in every way.
Dude, what's crazy about this too is there's no real money involved in this, like, at all.
No, it's
it's
like
nothing.
It's like
Yeah.
playing
It's
Monopoly.
air. He traded. Yeah,
He's just trading IOUs for other IOUs.
that are worth slightly
He's
more.
the guy who like wasn't there some guy who had like a pen and then he traded it for things until he got like a house?
It's the
Until you
one
got a
red
house.
paperclip. It's called
Yeah.
one red
Yeah.
paperclip. A guy traded a paperclip for exceedingly things of greater value until he got like a whole house. and, like,
Yeah,
a
but
piece
yeah,
of
you
land.
never heard about that?
Oh my
No.
gosh, that's a great story to tell one
We'll
day.
tell it on
We'll
the
tell
show
it
one day.
on the show one
But
day.
basically, instead of that
Yeah.
shot,
They
he
traded.
took a paperclip and
That was
traded
you,
it
too.
for another paperclip.
Yeah.
and then
and then got land.
and
from
then
Ireland.
he traded that paperclip for land.
This version of
For
the story
land.
is he traded some air for air from another place, and then that air got traded for a piece of land.
Yeah, nice.
This deal was illegal, but the thing is, because he gave all the profits to the British government, the government's like, all right, we're cool with this.
Yeah,
It works in their favor.
Plan 2. Plan 2 I'm skipping over, but it's called the lotto job. And yeah,
he would dig in the trash for
dude,
second chance.
this sounds like Dean Botten, but I'm telling you, this is like effective Dean Botten. So Blunt ran the government's lotto in like a crazy scheme to make money. Honestly, I would love to tell you what the details were. The details involved a lot of like people getting percentages of profits back and percentages of money they spent back. Like everybody got something. It was a really crazy, weird plan. But basically, though, the end result was the government made a lot of short-term money because a lot of people, like, in 4 days, the entire lotto in the country sold out when he did this thing.
Jeez.
The one thing is this. The debt for the government did go up because of this lotto. Because the thing is, the government, the idea was the winners are all paid out over a period of 10 years. So in
Yeah.
the short term, they got a lot of money from the lotto, like, tickets. But in the long term, they're going to have to pay this money back in 10 years.
Yeah.
So the debt grew, but the money was there to survive the year, basically.
So it's just one of those like paycheck loans. What are those called?
I know what you're talking about. I forget what it is, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not paycheck loan. It's
No, it's
Oh my god, this is gonna kill me.
Cash advance?
no. There's a name. Just keep going. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
come up.
whatever.
Well,
It's a bad loan to have.
Yeah.
this is the start of the actual story now, okay? Plan 3, the South Sea Company. Harley wants to make a new company that will loan money to the government because they can't get loans from the Bank of England because of all that political shit. So Blunt creates this company, a fake company basically, called the South Sea Company. And all the people who the government owes money to, this is what the company did. All the people who the government has to owe money to, who has to make interest payments to, they can exchange that debt for shares in the South Sea Company. Just like he did. Yeah.
Dude, that's this guy's thing.
That's
Just-
his thing.
Just exchange
Dude,
shares in
that's what he
fake
does.
companies.
Yeah.
Huh?
And the idea, but basically what this did was when these people trade the debt for shares in the company, it consolidated the debt that the British government owed, and they can lower their interest rate. Dude, that's literally what this was. They consolidated their debt and they lowered their interest rate, dude.
Wow.
And he used the...
This is just one of those
Yeah.
radio commercials.
And what he did with the checks that the British government paid the interest to the South Sea Company, like the interest checks, he would pay the shareholders with that money. That was his plan. Now, here's the thing. You have to convince these people that it's actually worth, like, they'll
Yeah,
make
right.
money on South
What does
Sea.
this company do
What,
to-
I mean, what's... Yeah, because definitely the interest payments they get from the British government directly is probably more than just shares in the company. So what can they do to convince them it's worthwhile? So the British government gave the South Sea Company... an entire exclusive monopoly of trading in South America. All South American trade belongs to this one company. And this is what they did at that time, right? East India Trading Company controlled all trade
Yeah,
in
right.
the Indian Ocean. So the thing is, though, people, when they heard this, South Sea Company is the exclusive company to trade in South America, which is like the new continent, you know? They were like, this is the new East India Trading Company. They're going to make so much money. People could not imagine how much money they were going to make. So, of course, people started to buy share or trade their debt for shares. There's one massive problem in this story, in this situation, though. South America was controlled by Spain. Britain was at war with Spain.
Yeah.
So, who are we trading with? We're fighting them.
Yeah.
So Blunt and Harley, they decide, okay, we've got to end this war. Like, that's the only way to make some money. We've got to end the war. So they have another crazy scheme that I have to skip over about how they ended the war.
I love that they're like, all right, Enough war. Because we're broke. We got to start making money.
Yeah.
Time to get serious. Get a job.
So
Trading.
the plan to end the war, right? Crazy scheme, but I'll just summarize by saying it involved a lot of bribes and also getting two people, Sir Robert Walpole, who is one of my important players, remember him, Sir Robert Walpole, and John Churchill, sent to prison. They got those two guys thrown in prison and a bunch of bribes, and that's how they ended the war, basically. By the way, John Churchill is the ancestor of Winston Churchill. Yeah. So in the end, the war, they sue for peace, but because they sued for peace way before Britain's allies did, Spain basically screwed them in the the treaty negotiations, and in the end, the only thing the South Sea Company was given is you can send one boat once a year to trade.
Wow.
So basically what they realize is, okay,
that's
this
a big
company,
FU.
this company has exclusive rights to trade once a year. They're not going to make money at all. And so that's all they had. All they had was this right to trade.
We'll
that they
take
can't
it.
take advantage of. Yeah. This company's not making money in any way through trading. So next, plan 4. Now that they can't trade, they have to find a new way of making money. Plan 4, selling stock. So,
Dude.
Selling.
dude, I love how Blunt knows how to do one thing: make swords, sell stock, and he's all out of swords.
Sell fake stock.
Yeah. He's all out of stock, really.
He's all out of stock.
So, what they have is a trading company that can't trade, but a lot of people believe it's a successful trading company. So, South Sea.
This is a housing bubble.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how right. There's a reason it's called the
Yeah.
South Sea Bubble. Okay.
I'm starting to connect
Yeah.
those dots.
So,
I know where this is going.
South
2009
Sea-
all over again.
South Sea, as a gift to the government, wipes away 10 million pounds of government debt.
Oh,
that way
God.
Harley can survive another year. They just wipe away the debt. Just wipe away the debt. So
Can I
Parliament...
get that magic wand? Just wave it over my debt.
So Parliament authorizes the South Sea Company, as a gift, to sell 10 million pounds worth of stock to cover losses. Again, they've already sold stock in their company, but they're like, you know what? You can create new stock worth 10 million pounds to sell to people to regain the money you've
Yeah.
forgiven.
Oh, man.
Can I sell my school debt to the South Sea Company?
This is not how finance is supposed to work.
Yeah.
So the British stock market, by the way, is worth 20 million pounds at the time. So one company was just authorized to become half the stock market. And remember this, South Sea has never made money, ever, ever.
So half of British economy,
Yeah.
basically, is just one
Nothing.
company's non-money stock.
Yes.
Just nothing.
It's faith in one company's fake stock.
Jesus Christ.
That can't go wrong. So as a result of this success, the government began to...
That's
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
appropriate.
Finally.
Yeah.
Correct air
Air
quotes.
quotes
Air
work
quotes.
here.
The government begins borrowing more money from South Sea to pay back the winners from the lotto that Blunt created.
Yeah.
So they're paying back the winners by borrowing money from South Sea now.
That doesn't exist.
That doesn't exist still. So, by the way, basically the government's going more into debt to pay Blunt back. And they're going to debt with Blunt.
Yeah.
So
They're kind of just doing the same thing they did with East India Company, only now
yeah.
with money.
Basically, yeah,
Instead of tea.
it's just nothing but just money and stock.
Fake money.
Fake money. It's
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah. So around this time, in 1714, King George I comes into power. And yes, that George. George, who is the owner of Peter. George, who the Americans rebelled against. That George came into power. John Harley, this is where he takes his exit. John Harley loses his position. And in 1717, King George...
I wouldn't want to be working there after all this either.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I'm going to retire now.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit.
Yeah, in some ways, Harley steps out. He stepped out at the right time.
Yeah.
So in 1717, King George makes himself the governor of the South Sea Company. And
Okay.
he invests the royal family's money in the stock of that
Okay.
company. You have to imagine what this did. The royal family is now invested in this company, and the King of England is now the owner of this company, basically. If South Sea fails, the British government and the royal family fails. This company is literally too big to fail now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The South
It
Sea...
is the original 2009 housing bubble.
The South Sea stock
Only
shot
there's
up.
no one to bail out anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they just...
Yeah, now the king's involved. And
He was the bailout.
He was the
bailout.
So the South Sea stock shot up from 100 pounds to 114 pounds.
What a huge increase.
No. This is important, though. This stock increase, even though small, it has a huge reverberation. Because the stock value is higher. Remember this. They were only authorized to sell enough stock to cover 10 million pounds. That's how much stock they had to sell. But because now the stock is worth more, they sell less stock and they make profit from the extra stock they sell. And that gives Blunt a really dangerous idea.
Oh, God.
The first dangerous idea.
Plan 5.
Plan 5.
Inflating stock prices. South Sea bribes corrupt parliament members to sell the government's entire 31 million pound debt to the entire debt that the government has to South Sea. By the way, it was 9 million, but by this time it's become 31 million.
31.
Yeah.
31.
So he bribes the government to give South Sea ownership of all the debt. That way they can start selling stock to cover the debt. By the way, this is great. How did he bribe them? Because clearly nobody's making money. John Blunt has no real money.
He gave them swords.
Yeah, right.
He gave him stock in the company. He gave Parliament stock in the company.
Dude, you know what? I get that this was like 17 whatever and people weren't.
Yeah. There was no school.
How do you not see this and go, this
It was
feels
1700s.
weird."
You just take everything on good faith.
God damn.
Blunt's idea was that...
Although, I mean, it very recently something pretty similar happened
Yeah.
and no one...
I mean, you can say
idiots,
that
man. We're
people went to school based on stuff that happened in this story, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, John Blunt's whole idea was if the Parliament knows if South Sea doesn't make money, they don't make money. So now they're invested, basically, literally. So Blunt's inflation scheme. By the way, I'm gonna say schemes. There's many. I'm gonna just skim over all of them. Right. This is March 1719. The stock in the company is worth 114 pounds. Scheme 1. Allow people to buy stock with 20% down and payments every 2 months.
Oh, home loans.
Oh, it's beginning. This is the start of all of this. So people would sell their stock every 2 months and purchase more stock with a profit.
Fuck.
Yes.
Oh,
because they're keeping on making more and more money. So just buy it, sell it and 2 months later, buy more stock. The value of the stock shot up after this scheme from 114 pounds to 550 pounds. Scheme 2, use the profits that they made from Scheme 1 to loan money to poor people to invest in South Sea.
South Sea.
So now a lot of poor
We
people...
really need Christian Bale right now
Yeah.
from The Big Short.
From the Big Short.
Holy...
Or we need Steve Carell to tell them, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
we need
this
Steve
is...
Carell to shout and scream.
Shouting, screaming. What the fuck is going on?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just shit on top of shit, like
So,
Steve Carell would
as a
say.
result of this huge influx of poor people investing in the company with their loaned money now, value of the stock shot up from 550 pounds to 600 pounds. By the way, right now at this point, because of the value of the stock, this is way higher than any stock's ever been in the British economy. There's not enough money to support multiple companies in the stock market as a result of how valuable.
So this is the economy now.
Yeah, basically.
Not even half. All of it.
So, wait, hold on. So Scheme 3 now. Scheme 3.
Just stop, guy.
The British government shuts down other companies to ensure that the only company they can invest in is South Sea. Dude, I'm not joking. They shut down companies. They raided and shut them down. You're not doing business anymore. Everybody invest in South Sea.
Wait. Are these just other trading companies, or these are
These are legitimate companies.
I sell brooms.
Yeah.
And they're like, listen,
well,
no.
specifically,
you're
what
out.
they did though is
that
they were
were-
allowed to sell the
Chimney
brooms.
sweep.
They
You're
just can't
done.
be in the
stock
market.
Right. Everybody who's not South Sea is out of the stock market now. And this raised the stock value from 600 pounds to 830 pounds. By the way, before South Sea,
Wait, how is this his scheme?
well, he's the one who convinced them. He has Parliament
So
in
he
his
just
pocket.
told them,
Yeah, Parliament's in his
hey
pocket.
guys, you want to make even more money?
Right.
Mwah.
So before South Sea, the British debt was 9 million pounds.
Right.
And in the last
And
4
he
months...
bought it for what? He bought
31 million
31,
more.
31 million
yeah,
more.
31 million pounds more of debt. But in the last 4 months of these three schemes, in 1719, South Sea spent 8.5 million pounds to keep the bubble growing. They spent 8.5 million pounds to grow the bubble And that was the original debt to begin with. The British government and the citizens were now, at this point, £60 million in debt because of South Sea. And that's literally more money than the entire British economy.
Good God.
Like, there's literally... That is more money
How
than...
did they come back from this? That's crazy.
So, the next part of my story is the bubble bursts.
The man comes back with,
Yeah.
score to settle.
At this point, this is when the score to settle stuff comes in. So
Liam Neeson comes in.
Crazier
actually, I
than the
want you
first.
guys to imagine Walpole as Liam Neeson because that'd be kind of cool, actually. So the stock value at this point shoots to £1,000.
Give me back my
it's worth
South Sea.
1,000. Every single stock is worth £1,000. At this point, there was no money left to make South Sea grow because the entire British economy was now entirely dependent on South Sea growing. If South Sea did not continue to grow, the British economy would fail. No one had enough money to make the loan payments back to South Sea. And dude, this is the craziest thing. Even the people in companies that were shut down, were in financial turmoil because they had invested in South Sea as well.
It's okay, you can shut me down. I'll just buy some stock.
Oh my goodness.
So Blunt, at this point, because he has to keep growing the economy, he has to do it. He does the only thing he can do. The bluntiest thing Blunt can do.
The bluntiest.
Sell more stock. And he sells it at 10% down payment. No payments for a year.
I love that the British government just keeps going along with his plan.
and a guaranteed 50% return of dividends over 10 years. He just guaranteed everybody you will make 50% of everything you invest back within 10 years.
Of course.
Yeah. But by the way, while he's doing all this, he starts to secretly sell his own stock.
Anthony My Eyes Johnson.
Dude. Oh my God, he is Anthony Eyes Johnson. He's making Rick and Morty references, but basically though, so he starts selling his own stock. He's secretly selling it away, right? He's getting rid of it at this point. Here's the thing about this new thing. In order to meet this 50% return of dividends to each shareholder, South Sea would have to make £15 million of pure profit every year to pay back shareholders. That's 25% of Britain's GDP.
You know what he's got to do? Sell more stock.
Dude, he has to make a quarter of the entire economy in profit to pay back everybody. And at this point, everyone starts to kind of look around and be like, this seems really unreasonable. I don't know.
Only now it's unreasonable.
Now it's unreasonable.
And as soon as people start to realize that,
Everyone wants to sell their...
the stock goes into free fall. Absolutely starts just shooting into free fall. The economy begins to crash. Businesses collapse. Many people went bankrupt. Many people committed suicide.
Oh my God.
The royal family's finances crumbled.
And Blunt's like, I got another idea.
Yeah.
It may seem bad now.
Blunt does the only thing he can do at this point. Sell
Sell
more
more
stock.
Yeah.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This is random, but I'm glad I remember this now because it's one of my treasured memories. I used to watch Tom and Jerry Kids. And I don't know if you guys remember Cal, the used car salesman in Tom and Jerry Kids. He would do commercials.
That is such a random
Dude.
reference. No, I've never...
Well, this is one of the references I remember. There's a commercial where Cal is a used car salesman. He says, got no credit? Cal don't care. Got no license? Cal don't care. Got no insurance? Cal don't care. Got no money? That's when Cal cares.
Yeah.
I was like 7, but I remember that so clearly. Okay, anyway, this is what's happening. So now is when our beloved Liam Neeson, Sir Robert Walpole, comes into story.
He gets out of prison.
Yeah.
And he's pissed.
Walpole.
He wants revenge.
He's out of prison now. And Walpole, by the way, was against everything that's been happening this whole time. He's been verbally against this whole thing, doing what he can in Parliament with his access to stop it, but he couldn't. Walpole only wants 2 things: get revenge on Blunt for throwing him in prison,
Of course.
and take over the government.
That sounds reasonable.
Straight up.
Reasonable.
He's like, I'm taking over the government. And at this point, with how the government is, it's like,
Yes.
better hands than
Yeah, right.
everybody else.
Can't get much worse.
So Walpole, by the way, this is just to show you what the British economy was like. Walpole previously made a lot of money selling his shares of South Sea before it crashed. Walpole got out before the crash, so he made a lot of money when it was really financially stable,
Yeah.
right?
Well, stable is not the right word.
When it was on the upswing.
When it was in the bubble.
Yeah. So Walpole convinces the Bank of England and the East India Trading Company to bail out the government and cancel all debt from all the citizens who were affected by this. Walpole,
all those people who killed themselves are feeling real stupid now.
Yeah, if they just waited a few months.
Just had to wait.
Walpole was tasked with leading the investigation into the corruption in Parliament. But here's the thing. He by the way, his whole goal with removing the debt, wiping away all the debt, was he wants people to see him as a defender of the poor, as a champion who fights corruption, that kind of a thing. Walpole's tasked with leading the investigation.
A very specific set of skills.
So he's tasked with leading the investigation, and his whole goal was he wants to use the investigation to remove all of his political rivals, and also to ensure that himself, his allies, and the king, who were all involved in this, are not implicated. So he's trying to let the bomb explode on the people he doesn't like. He's
getting less and less.
Yeah, Walpole's
Liam
not.
Neeson.
Yeah, he's not
a
the
good guy.
Goodest of guys. No. So, dude, this is my favorite. This is the gold mine of my favorite part of the story, dude. I gotta. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second.
He has to prepare himself. Make sure
it's a roller coaster after this. So, if it wasn't already. So there's one massive problem to everything that Robert Walpole's trying to do. One huge problem. And his name is also Robert. His name's Robert Knight. You're gonna love this, Ryan. Robert Knight was South Sea's accountant.
Yes.
Whose ledger records every bribe and transaction South Sea ever made. Dude, Robert Knight is Johnson, and he has the dirty black book that's gonna bring this whole thing crashing down if anybody finds the book. So Robert Knight, who knows he's either gonna be prosecuted or killed, flees to Belgium.
With his book.
And because Belgium has no extradition. Mysteriously, though, all of his bank funds were waiting for him in Belgium, and he didn't plan that. He fled in the cover of night. Actually,
the cover of night?
It's not the cover of night. He didn't flee in the cover. I'm exaggerating. He fled on a weekend because he knew the British court was closed on the weekend. I'm not joking. That's in the documents. He knew he won't be prosecuted till Monday, so he left Friday. And dude, it worked.
To beat the holiday traffic.
He had a 2-day head start, and the British government was like, "Hey, where's Robert Knight?"
It's time to arrest him Monday morning, 7 a.m.
So
I can't do this until Monday, guys.
So he all of a sudden his money's waiting for him, even though he fled. Surprise, surprise, though. Walpole arranged for that. Walpole arranged for the money to be waiting for him because the last thing Walpole wanted was Knight to be in a courtroom. Nobody wanted Knight in a courtroom
because he had everybody's
name
in that book. Yeah,
they just wanted Knight to never be testify.
They're just like, go live your life in Belgium.
Publicly, though, Walpole had to pretend he wanted Knight extradited. So publicly, with his power as the person leading the investigation for Parliament, he put political pressure on Belgium to extradite Knight. The Belgians, as a result of this political pressure, captured Knight and put him in prison. They put him in a Belgian prison. And the king and the Walpole and the corrupt politicians, they all celebrated publicly. But privately, they all lost their shit. Like, oh shit, somebody's going to talk to Knight and we're in a lot of trouble. What if he talks? He's going to bring the British government and the royal family down. Because the public doesn't know about what the British government did. So at this point, with Knight gone, let's go back to Blunt. With Knight gone, Blunt is the only one who knows everything that happened. So Blunt does the only thing Blunt could do.
He
sells more stock.
Close. He blackmails the politicians for bribes and a plea deal to keep silent. He basically just says, pay me to stay silent. And they do.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, buy more stock.
Buy stock in me. He basically
sold
stock in himself because now they have, like, an investment in him. Anyway, Walpole sends an official to Belgium to purchase Knight's release from the Belgian government. This guy, he brings the Belgian government a lot of money as like basically a bribe, but as like a offer of friendship, that sort of thing. And he informs.
Thanks for catching this guy. We got it from here. Like just let us
Take this case with unmarked bills.
let's let him
Non-sequential.
And what he does, he gives this money to the Belgian government, and this guy says, on no conditions must Knight be returned to Britain. He gives him the money, and he's sent there to bring him back, but he says never release Knight to Britain. The British government was absolutely furious with Belgium for not returning Knight. Walpole, at that point, because of the public outcry, wrote 2 letters. One, promising a deterioration of relations with Belgium should they fail to return Knight to the British government.
Poor Belgium's getting a lot of mixed signals. You just came over here last week with the frickin' briefcase saying not to let him go. Now we got the strongly worded letter. What is it, Britain? What do you want us to do?
Make up your mind.
The second letter offered Belgium a blank check of any sum of money to never, ever return Knight to Belgium.
Now they're even more confused.
The first rule of negotiations with the British, never return Knight to England. The second rule of negotiations with Britain, never return Knight to Britain.
I wonder if they could still use that as a bargaining chip today.
So the British investigators that are not corrupt in Parliament, they start sending officials to speak with Knight in prison, right, in Antwerp, in Belgium. So the Belgian government, who's still not exactly sure what to do with this whole situation, not return Knight, but keep the money and all this stuff.
Yeah.
What the Belgian government does is they begin moving Knight from prison to prison to keep him away from any British officials that try to come and talk to Knight. So they're just moving him from place to place at this
Why
point.
don't they just let him go?
Poor Belgium just gets caught up in this.
Seriously.
They even used body doubles that they placed in
Oh
various
my.
prisons to throw officials off the trail.
Dude, those officials, though, must be like, this Knight guy. He's got some real serious stuff going on. He's got, like, body doubles. That's crazy.
They even offered Knight a pardon, a full pardon, but that pardon never reached Knight's ears because Walpole's like never let Knight know he's pardoned. That way Knight can never come back even.
Oh, yeah, right.
So finally...
He's kind of screwed, too, because no one wants him, but nobody wants him out of prison either. He's just...
So finally, on a cold night in 1721...
Cold night.
This is, we got to start bringing the story,
Did
to
he
a
die?
close. A guard led Knight out of his cell into a secluded forest with, of course, weapon in hand. And there, the guard released Knight and told him to never come back.
I was like, it's about time someone just took him out. I mean,
Run. Never look back.
Dude, and Knight was, apparently he was so confused. He thought he was going to die at that point.
Yeah, right.
I thought this was it. And the guy just said, go and never come back here. And Knight just fled.
Run away,
He just
Simba,
fled.
and never return.
So...
remember.
Dude, that kind of, okay, let me continue. That kind of remember who you
Mufasa
are
comes into play.
So with both Knight and Blunt gone, all of a sudden Walpole's in the clear. So Walpole starts wielding the justice hammer, and he starts bringing that investigation down hard on corruption because there's no risk to himself or his allies, and his enemies all get caught in the crossfire. They get prosecuted. They get thrown in prison. So finally, here is the fallout of this entire thing that happened. Most of the people involved in the scam were fined, but almost none of them served any jail time.
Of course.
Nice. Yeah,
This
oh,
really is the...
2009.
Oh, my God. It's like a script
Dude.
for the American housing bubble.
It is. I
we're
laughed
stupid.
so loud when I read
I
that.
cannot believe that, one, I didn't know about this. How come no one knows? This is something you learn from.
As much as we try
This
not to
is-
repeat history always repeats itself.
Yeah.
This is the
Wow.
original Big Short.
And the thing is, none of them probably knew about it. They just happened
Yeah.
to do the same.
Yeah. I mean, it just happened to
That's-
happen the same way.
Fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
my God.
The people who were not affected, the politicians who were not affected, those still in power, they all knew that they owed Walpole a favor for saving them because they knew Walpole's the one who pulled this thing out of like a spiral. Robert Knight was able to return to England 10 years later. He got his pardon and he came back to England. He never got involved in politics or anything like that again. He just lived a quiet
just
life.
Became an accountant for some small broom, some small chimney sweep company.
Yep. Robert Harley never returned to public office after his removal as treasurer. Actually,
Well, he got out.
He got out,
Yeah.
but he never returned. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. Robert Harley actually died before the story ended in 1924. He actually died, but he never returned to politics after he lost his
He
position.
really got out.
He got about as far out as you can get.
I don't want anything to do with any of this.
Dude, the last two people, right? John Blunt and Robert Walpole. What happened to them? John Blunt, the guy who did all this shit, walked away with a cool 5,000 pounds of profit from this entire scandal. I mean, he actually came out on top, and more so, in the middle of all this, he became a baron, and his family still retained their
my
baronship,
God.
their baronet.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, because it's passed down, the titles are passed down through the family.
So he walked away as a baron and with 5,000 pounds of profit. And finally, whatever became of Sir Robert Walpole, he became the first Prime Minister of England.
Wow.
He called in all
my
those
goodness.
favors.
That. You know what's crazy about that is how did they even come back from all that? They were just like, well, I guess we're just gonna.
I mean,
Just-
a part of it is that they didn't. I mean, they're still paying the debt off. I mean, it still affected them, but I mean, actually, I'll tell you how they
They
came
just
out
made
of
their
it.
first
Want
payment.
me to tell you guys? I can tell you exactly how they came
Bail
out
out.
of this. Opium.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the opium wars happened. That's how India and China and colonialism happened, right?
Oh
That's,
my God.
That's it. So,
That was. My story is so small compared to that. It's although there is a Churchill involved,
oh,
the
good.
Churchill,
The Churchill.
very, very barely involved. But
By the way,
he's
funny thing
there.
really quick is the Walpole family has such a huge impact on British history throughout the ages that almost any event that the British were a part of, you can trace it back to a Walpole somehow. Like that's what Extra History actually, the internet, video group.
Yeah, well, I know
That's
who
what
they are.
Well, they do history videos on YouTube. That's what they do. They always have a joke where they always say, "How are the Walpoles involved in this?" Well,
6 degrees of Walpole.
yeah, it is basically. Yeah, it's true. All right, so
So I'm going to talk about the Last Witch of Britain.
love the title. I
Yeah.
love it.
Okay, so all right. So first, when you think witch hunts and all that whole thing,
Yeah.
the era that occurred would
Right.
be when?
1600s.
1600s,
Yeah.
1700s, the latest.
Yeah.
Then we started getting into like revolutions,
Yeah.
real wars,
Steam machine.
right?
Yeah.
In their heyday, they were legitimate convictions. Like these weren't just like people freaking out, mass hysteria as news. This was also real law. Like there were, kings involved. There were parliaments. People got tried, found, convicted,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and killed. So the last witch trial.
Really quick, I just want to mention one thing. You know what the funniest witch trial I ever heard of is? It's in England. You can somebody who's accused of being a witch can choose trial by cake.
Oh, I heard.
Have you heard
yeah,
of that?
yeah, yeah. I
Trial
read
by
about that.
cake?
Yeah,
Trial by
basically
cake?
they have to eat an entire cake without choking.
Yeah.
Dude, here's the funny thing. Of all the people who've done it, I think only like 1 or 2 people did, but one of the people did choke and he was killed. Dude, they killed him.
So wait. The thing was, if you can eat a whole cake and not choke,
Yes.
you're not a witch.
You're
You're not a witch. And he choked. Like
He's like, oh, witch.
that was the most untimely cough of his life.
Wow, that's pretty
Go
awful. The last witch trial in Britain, though, took place in 1944.
Oh my god.
Oh,
So this was World War II.
Here
we
we
had
go.
cars. We had planes.
Yeah.
We had, all these other exciting ways to kill each other now. We had TV,
We were fighting the
TV.
Germans.
photography. Yeah.
Germans.
So, Helen Duncan. She was basically the 1944 version of, like, that Long Island medium
Oh,
lady.
Yeah.
She, like,
Oh.
traveled around doing seances and whatever.
Yeah.
If she was in modern times, she'd have a shitty reality TV show.
Yeah.
That's who she
Yeah.
was. So, just doing that sort of thing, seances, what have you. Then in April of 1944, this is kind of like the peak of the war, she told a family that the ship that her son was on in the military sank and that he was dead. His ghost came and talked to her, whatever
Right.
the
Yeah.
thing was. And this was actually true. But the British government was suppressing that for morale reasons. Like, they didn't want people to know that it had happened. They didn't want the Germans to know that it actually, like,
went down.
went down, all that other stuff. So they charged her with conspiracy and fraud and violation of the Witchcraft Act of 1735. And only the witchcraft charge stuck.
Of course.
So
why
she
not?
got
Of
acquitted
course.
of, like, conspiracy and all those
Yeah.
other things. And so she was sentenced to 9 months in prison for witchcraft in 1944. So this happened.
Yeah.
And she's, like, in prison serving her time for being a witch. And, of course,
That
here's the
damn
thing. It's
Witchcraft
not like
Act.
everyone thought this was, like, a real good thing. Everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, this
Yeah.
is stupid. Winston Churchill visited her in prison. He described the whole episode as obsolete tomfoolery. And he repealed the Witchcraft Act, but she still had to serve her time. So she served out her entire
9 months.
9 months.
9 months.
Got out, lived a normal, medium life, I guess. And actually, in 2007, her family tried to get a pardon, like a posthumous pardon, to get her name cleared. There's a petition that actually got international support from Salem. The director of the Salem Witch Museum, like, signed this petition. She made, like, a whole statement about it. She was like, oh, she, like, suffered. This was whatever. And I just thought it was funny because she was, like, involved in this other thing on the other side of the, Scottish Parliament rejected the petition. So she's still technically the last witch of Britain. She was tried and convicted for witchcraft. And to this day, she's a witch, air quotes.
A witch.
A witch.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
witch.
Huh.
I didn't know the cake thing was an option. She should have gone for that.
She should have gone trial by cake. Listen, there might be a reason.
I'd like to exercise
Maybe-
my trial by cake.
Maybe, though, like, the definitions, British words, American words are different, and maybe, like, over time, words change their meaning. Cake might have meant, like, cyanide back then, we don't know.
Well,
No.
if it was cyanide, then
Yeah.
I think
it would be
cyanide
one
was
of those
cyanide.
things. I think it'd be one of those things though, where it's like, okay, if you ate the cake and you died, the cyanide cake, then you weren't a witch.
No,
But if you
not even
survived,
cyanide cake, just
then-
drink cyanide.
Okay, well, if you were drinking cyanide and you died, like, oh well, guess he wasn't a witch.
Yeah.
The cyanide
Well,
cake.
considering
And
the
if
fact
she-
that's part of the course, that's basically
If she
how...
lives, no, I know that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But 9 months, I guess, is not.
Not
No,
that
fuck
bad,
that.
but still.
Fuck that! I wouldn't want to be in prison for
Yeah.
9 months.
Yeah.
Go for the rest of your life known
Ridiculous.
as
People
the
calling you
last
a
witch.
witch.
Yeah.
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 Actually, she got arrested while doing a seance with the people she was seancing. I don't know what the.
I believe it's pronounced Soonsing.
Soon sing.
Is that for
Full of
real?
shit.
No,
Yeah,
no,
make
no.
that up?
I made it up.
I'm not. I'm making it up.
They also got arrested and then released. But here's the thing, though. A lot of people say that she found out about the boat in the newspaper. So
Dude, you know what it
they
is?
either did a really terrible job, like, keeping it quiet, or maybe, I don't know, maybe she did actually.
It's a Nelson Mandela thing. It's a mass hallucination. They all thought,
Yeah.
she heard it in the...
Yeah,
the news.
but really it was the dead ghost
Yeah.
of
That makes the most sense.
Makes it. Yeah.
the most sense.
So ridiculous.
Oh, I didn't do my British accent.
Wait, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Well, I can't now. You can't just look at me and say, let's hear it. I gotta,
Well, I'll interject at some point.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I'll have to. No, Courtney, talk
or
about
you can
your
say,
thing.
welcome to the after party, and that
No.
is the name of the show.
Okay, so before I get to mine, I just wanted to share a couple things that I found that I wish I could have done a story on, but it just wasn't enough information, but I thought it was pretty funny. One was, this comes from, it's a book about, it's a bunch of lists about stuff through British royal history. And so one of the subtitles for the list is 4 memorable royal wedding nights. So one of them was between William...
None of them involving sex, by the way, knowing the British royal
Probably,
family.
yeah. One of them was between William III and Mary II. So while William was, and this says getting to know his wife in a biblical sense.
So
they were
involving sex, actually, for once. Heyo.
Or just reading the Bible together. Come on.
Yeah, they could have been, yeah.
I'm getting to know her in the biblical sense.
Oh, where are you at? I'm in Psalms.
Catch up. I'm in Proverbs. So they're doing their stuff, and then all of a sudden King Charles
Doing their
II
stuff.
drew back the curtains and yelled out, "Now, nephew, to your work. Hey, St. George for England." So he was just, cheering on his nephew.
Oh,
Trolling him.
so he's just watching him in the corner?
Yeah,
Like,
well, because I guess the beds used to have curtains around it. So literally, what I picture is him just like all of a sudden popping up, pulling the curtain apart, popping in his head, just like, "Hey, do it for England."
Who is this person?
His uncle.
His uncle.
You get that crumpet in that tea.
Oh.
That's not a pretty picture.
Not a pretty picture.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that to happen. The other one was Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. And the advice that Victoria was given by her mother was close your eyes and think of England.
Oh my god.
God, you know what? The only time that sex is involved with the royal family is just do it for the country.
Yeah.
It's all about
Let's do this for our country.
patriotism.
Dude, a mother telling her daughter, what did she say? Close your eyes.
Close your eyes and think of England.
Wow.
Yeah.
All of England. All of England. I was about to say
That's some
You
Game of
are
Thrones
Part of
having
me-
sex with all of England
a part
right
of me
now.
didn't want to finish. I was going to say all of England's inside me.
Okay.
Gross.
All right, so we'll go on to my story.
Yeah.
So this takes place a little bit more nowadays. So I'm going to talk about this guy named David Icke. Before I'll get into what it is. So he was an English writer, a public speaker. He was a former footballer and sports broadcaster. But that's not what he is known for. He is known as a professional conspiracy theorist.
Professional.
Okay.
Okay.
Went to school and everything.
Went to school. Yeah.
Got his degree in,
Yep. Exactly.
in
So
jet fuel melting steel beams. Or not.
this is the
I
way
guess.
he actually.
He got his start in birther theory, actually.
So the way he describes himself is he is a full-time investigator into who and what is really controlling the world. Okay.
JB would love this.
Yeah.
So yeah. So in 1990, he said that a psychic visited him and told him that he was put on Earth for a purpose and he would start to soon receive messages.
This is
Wait, hold on.
how
Here we
all
go.
good
Yeah.
conspiracy
That's how it starts.
theories, legitimate.
Exactly.
And it might be my imagination just got this mixed up, but the psychic, did they visit him like mentally, or did they actually like knock on the door?
I don't.
I have been looking for you.
Yeah.
He's all drunk.
I don't know. No, I think
Hey,
like a
you
physical
gotta
meeting. He met a psychic or
Okay.
something.
Oh.
Dude, I honestly imagine like a psychic visited him in his sleep and told him this thing.
He probably called a hotline.
Yeah. What was it? Who is the chick that we grew up with? She always had the stupid commercials
Yeah.
on.
Leo.
Miss
Cleo,
Cleo.
Miss
Yeah,
Cleo.
yeah,
Who actually had a fake accent
Yeah.
that wasn't her real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the psychic told him that he'll soon start to receive messages. The next year, he got some messages, and he announced on a BBC primetime show that he is now son of the Godhead. And so
Son
he
of the
received
Godhead.
of the Godhead.
The Godhead.
Show me what you got.
So so that's kind of where it
A
starts.
lot
And
of
then
Rick and Morty references in here.
okay, so here is his theory. Prominent figures belong to what is known as the Babylonian Brotherhood, which is made up of shape-shifting reptilian humanoids.
That was just like, oh, okay.
Started out weird.
Yeah,
and
started
got-
out-
And you got
It started out with me imagining JB saying, "Oh, right, yeah, I actually know
The
about that group."
Babylonian-
Yeah, I actually considered joining them in San Francisco, but I
Their
decided to go
San
with the
Francisco
Masons.
sect.
Yeah, I decided to go with the Masons instead. We have
Yeah?
a friend named JB, and he is like really involved and into that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So.
he's in.
But
uh,
lizard people's a whole
that's,
other. That's a whole other field
Delicious.
of.
Well, some of the people that are included in this that would be considered reptilian humanoids would be Queen Elizabeth,
Nah, that's,
George W. Bush, Henry Kissinger,
okay.
oof.
both of the Clintons, Hillary and
Dude,
Bill.
he is hitting all the
Actually,
right
I've-
buttons, dude.
I've
Dude,
heard that also.
Dude, actually,
In-
I'm kind of believing him right now. This is like hitting all the right places in me
That-
right now. right
and
spots.
and Bob Hope.
Bob
Oh,
Hope.
that's kinda-
Oh, that's
Bob
wow.
Hope. Bob Hope was a
That's
reptilian
interesting.
humanoid.
You know what? I'll take Bob
Sure.
Hope just to get the other one.
Yeah.
Even if it's not true, I'll let that happen to Bob Hope.
He's on his way out anyway.
Bob
If we
Hope is a real American hero. If he's willing to be called a reptilian
reptilian.
monster, that way we can unveil
Shape-shifting.
those other real reptilian monsters. Oh man!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob's got to go.
Here we were laughing at him at first, but now.
Now,
Now
dude,
it
that's
makes me-
weird. Am I exactly the right demographic this guy's targeting?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my gosh.
You might start to believe. So, the reptilians, they come from the constellation Draco, who live inside caverns inside the Earth.
Look to the stars, Bowen. Look to the stars.
They use the rings of Saturn and the Moon, which he believes are both constructs of the reptilians to control. Like, they created that in order to, they broadcast our 5 sense prison. So really, this is just an artificial world that we're living in.
Whoa.
Dude,
being
they made the Matrix with the moon, apparently.
And the rings of Saturn. They
And the rings of Saturn.
created the rings of
The
Saturn
antenna.
to send out
Yeah.
the messages to the moon, which I
Right.
guess then like bounces to
Of course,
Earth or whatever.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So-
That's what makes
Yeah.
steak taste so good.
So yeah, and this was all revealed in David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret, in 1999. Okay,
God,
now
we've been living a lie for so long.
we have been. We need to all
Yeah,
buy
I mean,
this
by the
book.
way, if
His sales
how
are
do we
now
get out?
his sales are now gonna jump up.
if our friend, what's his name, David Icks.
David Icke.
David Icks had a conversation with Eliezer Yudkowsky. Yudkowsky's talking about how the Rocco's basilisk is, going to
like,
rule
listen,
the world.
robots aren't
And-
the problem.
And Icks is like, no, the reptilians.
reptilians.
They're the problem.
They've been a problem for a while, since the 90s.
Yeah, so he's written over. I'm gonna get to that in a second. Hold on. Don't cheat.
Sorry.
You always
you know
look
what? It's
over
because
at my
you
stuff.
always have these pictures on
You
your
have
notes.
such wandering eyes.
It's, man.
They're the picture's crazy.
gonna
They're
get-
always.
There, you can't see it
Go
now.
ahead.
I was
Ryan,
just gonna say,
eyes up, Ryan. Eyes up.
Icke has written over 20 books. He did used to have a publisher, but because his theories were getting, he combines, his whole theories kind of combines a bunch of different things, including anti-Semitism. I mean, there's like a bunch of stuff.
I was on board, man, but
Yeah,
now,
and also, the idea of the people that are running the world and they're reptilians or whatever, their whole purpose is to where is it?
Is Zionism? Is he gonna?
No,
throw-
but he kind of goes
That's
into
the
that.
problem.
Yeah, no, and
Dude, the weird thing is, he went from like reptilian, like crazy reptilian to the problem to Zionism. Like, oh, you're that guy.
yeah,
now.
they're moving the world towards a new fascist order. So that's his idea. But what I have to say though is not only is the world run by reptilian humanoids, but it's also run by pedophiles. That's his thing too. I don't know where the pedophiles come from.
He's just throwing everything he can
Yeah.
at this.
Or
He
wait,
is.
since this
He's-
is a British episode, we have to say it the way the British say it: pedophiles.
Pedophile.
Pedophiles.
Yes.
So,
true. By the way,
so
you know what
yeah.
it sounds like though? It sounds more like it's not so much that he's like all over the place. It's more like he's trying to get a fan base.
Yeah, he's really
before
trying to get
narrowing it
everyone,
down.
yeah.
So he's just trying to hitting all the points.
Trying to
and
get the
then
market.
seeing if he
Pedophiles,
can,
fascists,
Yeah.
Nazis,
Lizards.
lizards,
dude,
Satanists,
witches.
witches.
He probably threw that in somewhere. I mean, so yeah, he's written over 20 books. He was dropped by his publisher because of some of these. So now he went to self-publishing, and then he has DVDs.
Self-
And
You
he
mean no
said,
You mean
Did
no
his-
one wanted to publish his book?
Did suddenly his publishers become like also part of this?
They're the problem.
They're lizard people.
they're now
They're
lizard
also
people.
They're lizard
Yeah.
people.
And they're
They're all-
pedophiles.
This company is run by lizard people. That's why they won't publish me.
Pedophile lizard people.
Peter ass.
Was that your accent?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was very short, but I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can throw some more in there later. I guess.
Okay, so in one of his books in 2005, in Infinite Love is the Only Truth, he has 3 categories of people. Okay, they
Oh
are
god, this is gonna be
There
really
we
ugly.
go.
I
they
feel
are
like it.
interactive software programs, or they're also known as red dresses.
What?
And that's what
Red
this picture
dresses.
is. These are 3 of the red dresses: George Bush, Queen Elizabeth, and Tony Blair. I believe that's Tony Blair. So
Tony Blair and George Bush.
we'll
George
post
Bush.
this photo so
We have
everyone can
to.
see.
Yeah,
We
people
have to
need
post
see
this.
So the red dresses, they lack consciousness and free will, and their human bodies are holographic veils. Okay?
to cover up their.
Cover
I
up
mean,
the
To
lizard
cover up
scales.
their
But
lizard
scales
scales and
and
everything
tail.
like that. Yeah. So the second group, which is, we would be considered part of this group, we are the sheeple.
Oh,
We're conscious, but we do as we're told.
You know
and
what?
We're the main energy source for the
not to-
Brotherhood.
Wait. Are we the ones who provide like the material to make the red dresses? Are we the sheeple? Like that's what sheeple?
I guess. Yeah,
basically
we're
are?
also known as the repeaters. We repeat what other people or people in influence. So these would include doctors, teachers,
Oh yeah, definitely.
journalists. So
Don't-
we're
don't
we're
take doctors'
perpetuating it. All right,
word
the
for anything.
smallest group is the third group, and they see through all of this, and they are
The
And
smallest
that's the
group.
group he's in.
That's me.
That's
and
him. That's me.
and they are known, and people will go after them, and they're called dangerous or mad. That's what they are.
The
So,
Okay.
and this makes sense in terms of the royalty and stuff and everything, because it says that the red dress genetic lines, they interbreed because they want to keep it within themselves. Can't spread it out because because consciousness can rewrite the software. So there's a lot of different crap going on.
That red
I was going to
dress
say
gets
this
around.
also.
Yeah.
I think anytime someone says the word sheeple, I immediately discredit whatever the fuck they were saying. Because that's...
Sheeple.
I already
Sheeple.
know. You're somewhere else, dude.
Wake up, everyone, or wake up, America! You're all sheeple.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Yeah, so, I mean, actually, this, I think it was recently. I was trying to find it quickly because I did come across it, but, like, when this was actually started getting traction that the queen could be a reptile, it
Started getting traction.
It started to get traction. And this actually, it bothered the queen very much because it was happening on the 10th anniversary of her mother's death.
So her lip quivered just a little bit into a
Yeah.
frown.
Her little-
No, actually, I think
her
that was the
lizard
proof
tongue
that
came
they
out.
were if something like that happened on TV where she broke like her stoic stare or something, and that's like proof that she's a reptile
Because she had an emotion for a second.
because she had an emotion. Exactly.
But wait, hold on. I just remembered something. The daughter in that story, think of England, that was Victoria, right? Victoria's daughter was Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure Victoria told Elizabeth the same thing. Just
Close your eyes and think.
Close your eyes.
Close your eyes and think of England, sweetie.
for England, Elizabeth.
For England. For your country.
And then of course, Elizabeth responds with, "No, for me."
Hey, that was actually pretty good. That wasn't
that
so
was good.
intense.
No, that was,
Oh,
that
wow,
was
okay.
pretty good.
Yeah.
All you needed was for me to help
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, you need to hear
yeah.
it from somebody else.
I was channeling my James Bond as much as I was
there
just,
you go.
Yeah, wow. All right.
So, yeah, the world is run by reptilian humanoids.
So that's where all those people got that idea. Because I've heard that before.
This
But,
is where it stems from.
You know what's really funny? Like there's a part of me that's okay with making the joke of George Bush. Yeah, he's probably a reptilian lizard man. But then the funny thing is now I don't know why. Despite for years not liking that guy, for some
You
reason
miss him?
well, I do miss.
I think
George
a lot of
Bush.
people miss Bush.
No,
Yeah.
dude, it's the painter. It's a sensitive artist, George Bush. I don't know why, but I like that guy. He's this guy who he wants to paint. He wants to donate his paintings to charity. To
Dude, you
raise
know what?
money.
Actually, I was reading. What was I reading about? Something really awful, about worms in Guinea that are like
No.
coming out of people and stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, that was dark. I also read that Africa sees George Bush as a hero. Like
Wow.
because his presidency, they did like so much positive work for AIDS out there that I had never heard about. But apparently he saved a lot of lives. I was
Wow.
like, oh man, way to go, W. Like,
Yeah.
please come back.
I mean, it's weird, but it's often the case that in hindsight, presidents are always seen favorably in a weird
Well,
way.
yeah. 2020,
Yeah.
hindsight.
Yeah.
No, listen, I'm not saying he was a good president.
Yeah, no.
No.
Not by any means. But,
But-
he was...
Compared to
Listen,
what we're
yeah,
currently
okay.
dealing with.
Okay. I mean, he's, in hindsight, compared to this, seems like a great option.
Yeah.
Compared to this car wreck.
But, not to get too political, but
Yeah.
I did once say, you could quote Ryan Walters as saying once to people, I would vote for a dead dog before I'd vote
For
You
Bush.
did.
before I'd vote for Trump. And,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
what a time to be alive.
Offhand, really quick, did you have anything? I mean, any story you wanted to add, or anything you wanted to mention about all this that you've heard?
Anything?
Yeah.
Courtney, you didn't do your accent, by the way.
Oh, you
I know,
didn't.
you
Hold on, Courtney. Yeah. You gotta do your accent too, Miles.
The only thing that's popping into my head was when I was in England 2 years ago.
She's got real experience.
My sister and I, we were trying to go find the pub from Shaun of the Dead.
Nice.
And that's in South London, and like one of the I can't think of the word, but we kept just going, oi, bruv. All right, bruv.
You know what's crazy? Yeah, England has a different accent every like 30 feet.
Dude,
No, yeah,
Yes.
they do. They do. Yeah.
You sound like the people over on A Street.
No, okay,
Cockney
this just
fast.
popped into my head. So one of my housemates, Tim, shout out to Tim,
Flatmates.
flatmates, one of my flatmates, he was the only British person in my house. It was me, two other Americans, a Canadian, and a British person.
Yeah.
And my friend Sarah and I, we went out.
By the way, I just imagine that you had to have somebody who you associated with who had a really like a really different kind of name, like his name was Corky or something like that. I don't know, just somebody with like a really like, oh, he's that British guy.
Well, he was the posh British guy. And so I remember Sarah and I, we went out shopping with him, and we were walking around in the store or whatever, and he's just like, where is a member of staff? We're like, what? And he just completely cracked us up, and he was like looking at us really weird. And we're like, I'm sorry, I've never heard, because like usually, where is their help? Or, and he's just like, where on earth is a member of staff?
Staff.
Actually, this just reminded me. I mean, we've had this conversation, and I feel like I might have mentioned it to you, but just for the audience, right? So, this basically it's the idea that Oxford English, the English that we imagine the British people speaking, the official English accent, right?
Yeah.
Oxford English is not at all what they spoke in the pre-independence time period. Yeah, I mean, basically
It sounded trashy.
They sounded like people from West Virginia. Like, West Virginia has the closest accent to what actual Shakespearean era British people sounded like.
I don't know if it was you who brought up, or it was something I read, but that actually, pre-independence, that like the way we're talking now is the way that they sounded, and then because of the fighting and everything, they went back to England. Some people went back and they're like, okay, we don't want to sound like them, and so they changed their accent.
It was an artificial choice to make that change in accent. Yeah, dude, how
So
does somebody do
all
that?
the posh British people are liars.
I mean, think about this. So think about what it
Liars.
takes to have like a couple million people start like, all right, we're
It's
all
not
gonna.
that hard. Think about it.
Well,
If I just started talking like this all the time, eventually you'd start talking like this, and you would start talking like this. It happens. When you hear it enough, you start.
All I pictured was the Geico Gecko.
The
Yeah,
guy
hey, that was-
Gecko.
Not what I was going for, but okay.
Sorry.
Kind of like a Paul McCartney thing in between.
I
See,
think-
that's one of the. There's like 1,000
There's
accents
a lot,
out there.
But like the main one that we think of, like in movies, like the way Colin Firth talks in movies and things like that's what
Hugh
that's what
Grant.
people Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
That's considered the posh accent, the posh London accent. But usually the more like local people.
The
are
poor
not.
people.
The poor
Yeah.
people.
No, but okay, whatever.
Bollocks.
Bollocks. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, I can share a couple times, not nearly as bad as that, but like kind of lost in translation things. So when I was living over in England, in my room, there was a fireplace, but it was no longer working, but there was still a mantelpiece, and part of it was breaking off. So the
He lives in a real fancy spot.
well, the handyman came by and he was fixing something else. Oh, that was fun. We had a week during winter where our boiler broke down and we had no hot water or heat. That was fun. But anyway, the guy was coming by to fix stuff, and I'm like, oh, hey, by the way, this piece of my mantle is kind of coming off. Is there a way that we can fix, like, I don't know if you can use, like, spackle or something. And he looked at me with this really confused look on my face, on his face, and he's like, what? And I'm like, spackle. And he's like, what? And I had to say it, like, 5 times. I'm like, spackle. I'm like, like, stuff that you use to, like, fix a hole in the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, plaster. And I'm
Plaster.
Yeah.
like, okay, plaster. The other time was I went to the store and I was getting.
Did spackle mean something really awful?
I just think just we use the word spackle and they use plaster. But he had this like look on his face like I was crazy, like I was just speaking another language.
Well,
Kind of
Yeah.
was. So then another time I was at the grocery store and I was just getting some stuff to make food or whatever, and I was trying to find some cilantro. And I couldn't find it in the produce section. I'm like, come on. And so I go over to a produce guy, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to find some cilantro. And again, I get that look like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, cilantro. It's like parsley, but not. and like I didn't know how else, and had no idea what I was talking about. They only know cilantro, and apparently only Americans refer to it as cilantro. Everywhere else is known as coriander.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard that before, actually. Yeah,
That's what coriander is?
yeah.
Coriander, cilantro.
Yeah. Just like also
God,
eggplant.
that sounds so white.
Coriander.
I mean, I feel like
Coriander.
cilantro comes...
Coriander.
Yeah,
Like
I
it's
thought it would, but no,
Spanishy.
it's coriander, and like eggplant is aubergine.
Aubergine.
Oh man, and that explains why.
We're just like changing
Well, no,
I know.
lives right
no,
now.
in Sinhala to say eggplant, it's Oh god, it sounds exactly
Close
the
to
same.
that? Yeah.
I dude, you know what I do all the time at my house? I say eggplant in Sinhala all the time, just to, like annoy my mom. Like I literally just do that all the time for fun.
now you can't say
and
it?
now I can't think of the word. Like I always say it. Whatever.
You know, the one thing that blew my mind also, we were talking, and so here we have the post office, and when we refer to getting mail, we go like, oh, I'm going to go get mail, or I'm going to mail something. Over there, they have the Royal Mail, but when they talk about getting
It's
their mail,
post,
it's
right.
post.
Post.
I'm going to go to the post, or I'm going to pick
Well, I
up
feel like-
post.
I
But
feel
for
like
me,
that's-
I mean, it's small, but for me, when I'm like, whoa, that's weird.
Well, I feel like America took a lot of the terms and they're like, fuck you, England. We're
Probably,
going to make this
yeah,
our own thing.
yeah.
We're going to call this mail. We're going to call this a post.
So, yeah, those are some of the lessons that I learned while living a year in England.
Still no accent from Courtney. It's fine.
I wanted an accent, but it
Oh, no,
didn't
I'm saying on
happen.
the
Wait.
show you're supposed to do your thing.
Courtney,
but-
say what is eggplant?
Aubergine.
Aubergine. Okay. Starts with A. Doesn't sound like
You
it
still
though.
don't know what it
Aubergine.
is.
No.
No.
It-
Can't figure it out, Hunden.
No, I know what it is.
You
It's-
looked it up.
I did. I had to remind myself. But it doesn't. It doesn't sound. It's ambatamoju,
Oh,
but it's not
okay.
ambergine.
I would
close.
say that just to annoy my mom, too.
Yeah, I do.
That sounds like a fun word.
Ambatamoju.
Wow.
I love saying that.
Nice. Well, we need to hear your accent.
Yeah, what's your accent?
My accent?
On the spot.
On the spot. I know. It was so much easier when we were just talking about it.
I mean, he did it a little bit.
Little
here
bit,
and
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
a little bit here and there.
But Courtney didn't.
Yes, I did.
Did you?
I said bruv.
What-
And then,
Oh,
no,
you
but
said,
then
"Oi,
I
bruv."
was
Oi, bruv.
I was imitating Tim. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that was
That's
where
true.
on
That
earth
was-
is
That's
a
true.
member of staff?
That's
That
true.
was
You did
really
do-
good.
Did you go to the grocery
That
store?
was the
and say-
best. That was the best British we had on
Yeah,
the show. Actually,
definitely.
I can imagine Tim. I love Tim.
If Tim ever comes out here, I will bring him
Oh,
on
yeah.
the show. Or if there is a way to get him to call in, yeah, you guys would love
That
Tim.
would make our ratings
guys would
go
love
way-
Tim.
Wait.
There's a British person.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to listen now.
We became
Yeah.
legit.
He'll be fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Better than our
Trashy American
voices.
Oh,
accent.
I'll play for you later. We were sitting around the living room one time, and he just started making up songs, and so I recorded it, and he created little ringtones that I put for everyone in the house, and so I'll play. And one of them, I was recording, and I was talking to this guy at the same time, and he sent in a text, and Tim is singing, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, fucking John Damian Lynch," and he like is like this whole thing.
John Dame.
And it was just like he's like, "All right, talk to him," blah blah blah.
All right. Well, is there any? Actually, by the way, I realized there's
What?
one thing we didn't do at the beginning of the show. I'm sorry, Miles, but it's all right.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have Miles.
We didn't introduce you
Who
at
is
all.
Miles? We did not introduce.
Just been
Tell
just
us about yourself.
I'm just Gunther. I'm just his fourth voice that just comes in.
He brought us our coffee. Well, is there anything you want to signal boost or shout out to or notify people of?
Let's see. Today, America did something stupid and confirmed Betsy DeVos. So
Oh, yeah.
be sure to
Yeah.
fight for education more and not for guns in school to shoot bears. And
So
also,
worthy cause.
At
Yeah.
least we're safe from the bears now.
and also,
By the way, though, I mean, for all we know, Betsy DeVos is somebody who's in on Ike's or Ick's whole thing. And
She's a
Yeah.
lizard
She's a
person.
lizard
No,
person.
no. She wants guns in school. She's saying grizzly so she doesn't sound crazy. Because
But
what she
it's
really
just-
wants to say is, we gotta shoot the lizard
shoot
people.
the lizard people.
You're giving her far too much credit.
Is there anything else you want to shout out?
Let's see. Keep fighting for reproductive rights, women rights. It's very near and dear to my heart as a feminist. And more diversity in films, especially, which is something that's also near and dear to me, as Danushka knows.
Near and dear to me as well. Yeah. Courtney, is there anything you want to signal boost or
No,
shout out to?
no,
Any sales at the shop you want to promote?
no. We don't have any sales going on.
Oh, okay. Well, please stop by and visit the French Confection Co. In Burbank. on
Burbank Boulevard.
Burbank Boulevard. It is located next to.
You could also use Yelp and find it.
Please feel free to use Yelp
Yelp.
and find.
We are
Google.
on
You
Yelp.
know, if you're not
You
going
can just
to
Google it.
for Mallory's sake, I'm going to signal boost this and try to get you guys some,
Well, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on by.
Yeah.
We're open. We'll be open again tomorrow, but we're open Wednesday through Sunday. We're closed Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay.
Uh, shout out to JPEG, my truck.
Yeah.
Please, baby, just get me home. Please get me home. I'll get you fixed on Monday. Just,
Last until then.
God, please get home. That's all that's it.
I will just say CSUDH is hosting a series of keynote speakers, panels, films related to the Japanese American internment during World War II. That's happening all this week. So there's 2 more days of that. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, there's another event being held on campus.
Well, by the time this is on, tonight at 4 o'clock.
That's right. So there will be one final thing happening on Thursday,
Yeah.
all day on campus. So check it out if you are interested in learning more about that event and the speakers from that time. So that's
Yeah.
all for today.
If any of our listeners have any suggestions for topics they want to hear us talk about, or they want to let us know that you believe in lizard people or
Or if
whatever,
you just want to join us on our show,
join us. Facebook,
Twitter.
Twitter, email us, Ryan and Newshard at
have
gmail.com.
we received one email ever?
No, we haven't.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But
I'll
we've
email
gotten,
us
we've
later.
gotten
I'll make a
followers.
fake account and
We've
email
gotten
us.
followers on Twitter and Gmail.
Okay, what?
I mean, Twitter
no, actually,
and
one thing is this.
Instagram.
I checked our followers on Twitter. A lot of them are companies trying to sell us stuff.
Yeah, there are some.
Yeah, I'm
but there have been
serious.
others that have
Dude, I'm not
followed.
joking. And the funny thing is also I checked our Facebook, because we have apparently 230 people who listened to our last episode, the collections episode, and I wanted
That
to,
wasn't the last one.
well.
Oh, the one before this.
That's what
last
I'm
one.
referring to, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I noticed there's a lot of people. I want to see where our listeners are coming from. So I checked on Facebook where it tells you locations. And, dude, we've got people from, China, Australia, Europe.
Who are these people?
There's
Let
people-
us know. Let us know.
Dude, there's somebody from Kuala Lumpur who listen to us.
That's sick.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
I mean, just I hope these people will want to be guests on our show.
Please.
There are
keep
literally
listening.
8 billion people in the world, and we are struggling to find guests week to week.
8 billion people in the world. 200 of them are listening to this.
Yeah.
We're sorry. But please come on the show and make it better.
So Ryan, what's the song for tonight?
You
Dude.
know what? Actually, I'm gonna try to find even harder. This one's not bad, but I want to find ones with really weird names
Yeah.
and really weird artists just to make you say them.
Yeah.
This one is John.
No, dude. The song is called "Rob Gasser" by Supersonic.
Yes, exactly. Rob Gasser by Supersonic.
That's what he said. That's exactly what he said. I heard that.
It's actually Supersonic by
Yeah.
Rob Gasser. But that's my thing.
That's our joke. Our private joke is that every time, because of the first time, we're gonna mix them up.
Yeah. All right, so thanks for joining us, and we hope you guys join us next week. This has
Valentine's
been...
Day.
Oh, it's a special Valentine's episode. We hope we can get a guest. Any lonely hearts out there who don't have any plans? By the way, the person I asked, Erica, she told me the other day, she's like, yeah, I'm in. I'll be on the show on
And
Valentine's.
she got a Valentine.
Well, no, she told me that her boyfriend never does anything anyway, so what's the point? She'll just come on the show. And so she said she told her boyfriend she's going to be on the show.
And now he's like, well, no.
No, and he kept on saying, fine, go be on your podcast. But he said that 3 times. And she's like, okay, I won't go on the podcast. So we'll have to find somebody who's really lonely on Valentine's who'll join us.
Yeah.
Well, we're all here. Clearly, we're lonely hearts, too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, guys, we'll see you next week. Ryan, take us out.
Bye.
Thank you.
New Sure Dead is made possible thanks to KDHR, the student-operated radio station of California State University, Dominguez Hills. For more information about KDHR, please visit www.kdhr.net. The intro song for this show is Space Ace by Blind. This music is made available thanks to Overclocked Remix. For more information, please visit ocremix.org.